Hey guys, welcome to my chord practice vlog, and believe it or not, today we are actually going to be talking about chords. Okay, so the first couple of videos I did, we talked about intervals and we talked about playing things on one string, and now this is all going to make sense. So when we talk about chords, there's a couple of concepts that you need to be familiar with. The first thing we need to be familiar with is the major scale, okay? And generally people work in C major scale, and the reason they work in C major scale is if we look at the intervals of C major scale, or the intervals of a major scale, if we use those intervals of the major scale starting on C, we get no sharps or flats. Right, so what do I mean? The intervals of a major scale go like this. If we start on C, and I'm going to play it all on one string from the B string. So we're starting on C. Now the first interval is a tone, so we get from C to D. The next interval is another tone, so D to E. Then we have a semitone, E to F. Then we have another tone, F to G. Another tone, which is G to A. Another tone, which is A to B. And then a semitone. And that semitone completes the octave. So we have tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Okay? And that is the interval for the major scale over one octave. And if we use those intervals starting on any note, so I'll start on D flat, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Starting on E. So those are the intervals, okay? And we can start, if we start on any note and we use those intervals, we will get the major scale. If we start on C using those intervals, we don't get any sharps or flats. We get C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C, the octave, okay? That's what gives us our major scale. Now, if we do the intervals individually, so we have from our tonic, the tonic is the root note, from C, okay, and then the first interval, we have a major second. Okay, the next interval, we have a major third. Next interval, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, a major seven, and there's the octave. So we have the tonic, a major second, a major third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, a major seventh, and then back to the tonic, okay? And that gives us our C major scale. So lots of you guys will know the major scale like this. But it's really important to understand the intervals in a straight line, okay? Why? Because this is going to help us understand that the way our chords move and understand voice leading within those chords. Okay, so there's our major scale. So your step one, understanding the intervals in the major scale. Step two, and this is the really key thing to understanding chords. Chords are built in thirds. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If we have C as our root, our 1, and then we go up a third, so 1, 2, 3. Right, we have our third, and in this case it's the major third. So we start with C, and then the first building block of our chord is the major third. Okay, let's go up another third. From our E, E, F, G, right? So we get so let's start with those three notes, okay? We call that a triad, and we've built our triad from the first note of our major scale. So if I start with my triad from here, and then all I'm going to do is move those notes up one step in the major scale. So we get this. So all of a sudden, we're playing, those notes are harmonizing each other. We're creating chords using the notes of that scale. Right, so they're our triads. Now, interestingly, the guitar, if you think about the guitar, and we've talked about this before, you know, the guitar isn't laid out linearly. It is on a string, but if you think about a piano and how that is completely linear, so when we play our triads, you can see them. But in, you know, playing guitar, it's not always practical or even desirable for me to play a D minor chord like this. Those intervals are very close together. But what we can do is play a D minor chord like this. So that's a shape a lot of you will know. That's just the minor shape from the second string. And what's going on there? We have the D, we have the A, which is the fifth. Then we have another D, so that's the octave. Then we have the F, so the minor third. And then we have A again. So we are repeating our tonic, and we're repeating our fifth, and then we have the third, the minor third in there. Okay? Exactly the same notes as our triad, but played there. And then we have, so we start from the C major scale. So instead of playing our triads like this, if we use shapes that were more common, so we have C, and again we have C octave, we have the fifth, and we have the major third, then the D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, then we get this. And that's a B diminished chord, and then we get back to C. So something really interesting is going on with those intervals as we go up the scale. For example, if I played just a major chord, a C major chord, but if I played that major shape on each of those notes, all right, so C major, then I go to the next note, which is D, next note, which is the E, okay, F, G, it's okay, A. Okay, so what's happening there? As we go up the scale, and the reason that we learnt those intervals is to understand that the relationship in the chord between the tonic and the third changes. And this is crucial. Understanding what the role of the third, it tells us whether the chord is major or minor, okay? So it's a really big deal. So if we go up from C, those intervals, there's our major third, okay? But if we go from the second note, the D, and then we go up a third using all the notes in C, we get that interval, minor third. Okay? And whether it's a major third or a minor third tells us whether the chord is major or minor. So in the first position we have C major. Second position we have the minor third, which is D minor. Third position, another minor third. Fourth position, major third. 5th position, major third. 6th position, minor. 7th position is also minor. But interestingly, with the 7th position, the 5th is the same in every position, except the 7th position. And that gives us that flat 5, which is that diminished tonality. And back to the octave. So, building chords up in thirds, we can see how the relationship between the tonic and the third changes, giving us those major and minor tonalities. So with those chords that are happening on each note of the scale, we can then give those chords a number. Okay, so we call the tonic 1, the next note 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to the tonic. And when you hear terms like 2-5-1, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the 2nd chord of the scale, the 5th chord of the scale, and the 1 chord. So there's a 2-5-1, a 3-6-2-5-1. So when you hear things like a 2-5-1, we're talking about the chords in relation to the tonic. So for example, that was a 2-5-1 in C. We can do a 2-5-1 in E. 2-5-1 in B. It's just about relating that back to the tonic of the scale that we're in. Okay, so they are triads. But of course, what we can do then is we can add another third on top of that. Okay, so we get our... So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in C, starting on the tonic, we get 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, the next chord, D to the... So if we move those chords up the major scale, we get C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, or B half diminished, and then back to C major 7. Okay, so a couple of new chords have been introduced there, namely the dominant 7. Okay, so 1, major 7, 2 is a minor 7, 3 is a minor 7, 4 is a major 7, but 5 is the dominant 7. And harmonically, this is a really important chord. So remember when we're talking about the intervals, and we're talking about the fifth note of the scale. And the way our ears work, certainly in Western music, we hear... We want that 5th to resolve back to the tonic. And it's really interesting because if we look at the relationship between the interval of the 3rd and the 7th chord of the dominant 7 chord, so here's our minor 7, and here's our major 3rd. And we get this interval. And we want that to resolve to... Okay, that's the whole. So we've done our thirds, we've done our 5th, and we've done our 7th in the chords, okay? And understanding the 3rd and the 7th is crucial because it tells you what sort of a chord it is, okay? For example, in C major 7, we have 1, we have the major 3rd, and we have the major 7. And remember that the major seventh is just a semitone behind the tonic. So C to B. A minor seventh would be C to B flat, okay? But we have 1, 3, 5, 7, and those two notes there tell us what sort of a chord it is, all right? So remember it like this. A major 7 chord has a major third and a major 7. All right, let's look at the second chord, D, minor 7. 1, 2, there's the minor third, and then fifth, and then there's the minor 7 there. So when we play it like this, we have the minor third here, minor 7th here. So the minor 7 has a minor third and a minor 7, okay? Major 7 chord has a major third, major 7. Minor 7 chord, minor third, minor 7. But the dominant 7 chord, so 1, 2, 3, 4, we get to fifth. Right, there's that dominant 7 chord. The dominant 7 chord has the major third, but it has the minor 7. And that's how we get that interval. It's that flat 5 interval. Or we call that a tritone. But that's the interval that when we hear that, we really need that to resolve. It can resolve 2 ways. But there's that tension in that flat fifth, and that's what our ears want to hear that resolve somewhere. So the dominant 7 chord is generally, it's always going somewhere. You know, you'd never finish on a, you know, unless you're playing blues and everything's dominant 7s. Okay, so then we get to the 6th chord, which is the minor 7 again. And then we get to the half diminished chord. Now, I won't spend too much time on this, but the half diminished chord also has a minor third and it also has a minor 7, but it does have a flat fifth. Okay, so if we were playing the B minor 7 chord here, and we take our fifth and lower it down by a semitone, and it's really interesting because that chord is really closely related to the fifth, okay, because it gives you, again, we have that tritone that wants to resolve, or so this is where the patterns on guitar come in really handy, okay? Now we know the intervals of the major scale, so I'm going to do it all from G, okay? So we've got tone, tone, semitone, and then tone, 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 semitone. Okay, but normally I wouldn't play it like that. I would play the scale from... Okay, so what I'm going to do is build my chords up using that pattern, okay? So from the 1, G major 7, 2, A minor 7, 3, B minor 7, 4, C major 7, 5, D dominant 7, 6, E minor 7, 7 chord, F sharp half diminished or F sharp minor 7 flat 5, and then back to G major 7. Or variants thereof. Don't worry, we're going to get there, but it's really important to understand how we build those chords and how we create those chords first, and then how we utilize them within diatonic harmony. Okay? So, get to know your minor chords, your minor third, minor 7, major chords, major third, major 7, dominant 7 chords, major third, minor 7. Okay? And we'll get into half diminished and things later. All right, guys. Hope that was helpful. Let me know in your comments any questions, and then we'll answer those as we go along. Cheers, guys. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.